Wanted to welcome you all to the Organic Advisor Call Series number 2. I'm your facilitator, Nate Powell-Palm, coming to you from Bozeman, Montana, and I'm the training specialist with OATS. This series is brought to you in collaboration with the American Society of Agronomy and the University of Wisconsin-Madison's O-Grain program. And this is the second of 6 calls that we're going to host in this series. So visit the OATS website to view all of the calls as we put them up there and see the schedule of the topics we'll discuss. The call series topics and guests are drawn from a video series that was recently released by O-Grain and ASA. So check these out in the link in the chat. And then if you haven't done so already, I really recommend signing up for the newly launched Organic Advisor listserv. We'll be having some really good conversations right to your inbox on all things related to advising organic grain farmers. So the link to sign up is right in the chat, and the link to the YouTube playlist is also in the chat. So please take a look at it. And I would really encourage everyone to use the chat to pose your questions, whatever questions you have as we go on today. And if you've seen the video with Charlie Johnson, our guest today, if you've seen the video and you have any questions prepared, please throw those in the chat as well.
Okay, very good. This is Charlie Johnson. I'm from Madison, South Dakota. And geographically, if you know where Sioux Falls is, I'm about 45 miles north and west of there. I farm with 2 brothers and a son. We operate about 2,500 acres organically, and we have done so since 1976. Of that 2,500 acres, about 1,600 acres is in tillable ground. The balance is in pasture, meadow, tree groves, sloughs, and waterways. We raise 4 major crops: corn, oats, soybeans, and alfalfa. And we have a 180 head cow-calf herd. So that's kind of the basics of our operation.
Super. All right. Thank you so much. Really excited to have you on today, and thank you for the time that you spent making the video for us all to see beforehand. To get kicked off, you mentioned in the video that that you transitioned, I believe in what year did you transition again to organic?
It was in 1976.
Okay. And so before that, how did you view rotation, or how did your family farm view rotation prior to going organic?
Well, my late father was always one that was very skeptical of any chemical fertilizer use. In fact, there's fields that probably on our farm that go back even 20 years previous to that never had chemical or fertilizer application. But in 76, we made the decision, and at that time I was just exiting high school, and so my dad and my uncle, who farmed together at that time, made the decision to take the whole farm to go organic. And as I alluded to in the interview, that was a major drought year here in South Dakota, and so nothing grew for anybody. So it was a good year to get into organic because there was no measurement of success or failure because everybody else didn't have a crop either. And so, we persisted, and then in 1981, just 5 years later, my father had a disabling stroke, and then my other brother, who had just graduated high school, the 2 of us took over the farm within several weeks, and we were at 560 acres at that time, and we've grown to about 2,500 acres today, presently.
Okay. So what was your rotation prior to going organic? Was it similar to what you're doing now?
Well, back in those days, there wasn't so much the corn and soybean rotation in the neighborhood as it is now amongst the commercial farmers. A lot of it was maybe corn and small grain back and forth. And most farmers had some alfalfa in their rotation. And there was probably a lot more diversity on the farm when it came to livestock in terms of poultry, swine, and dairy, beef cattle. You found that on just almost every farm in the neighborhood. Today, you don't see that.
Except on yours, right? You do have cattle?
Yes, we do. We have about 180 head. We used to raise swine up until about 20 years ago.
Okay. So what would you say, how would you describe the functions of each of the crops in your rotation?
Well, I'd like to take you through a comparison. And there's four major dynamics. There's warm season crops versus cool season. And then you've got row crops versus what I call cover crops or small smother crops.
Mhm.
You've got legumes versus grasses. And then, of course, you've got your annuals versus your perennial. And so when you take our four major crops, alfalfa, soybeans, corn, and oats, you can literally take that through a chart and check mark each of those 8 boxes. And so I'm not saying that any rotation that would have to be similar to mine is the ideal one. I think the ideal rotation is one that a particular farmer, he or herself, puts together. But I think it's important to be able to check mark all those boxes as you go through a rotation, so that the more diversity and the more spread out your rotation, the better. We stick pretty loyal to our rotation. We don't let organic prices or other determinations steer us away from that rotation. We stay pretty strict to it, and we also incorporate winter rye as a cover crop in a lot of our soybean stubble that is going to corn.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing is that it spreads out the workload with a good diverse rotation. In my neighborhood, we're kind of on the western end of the corn belt, and everything here is pretty much all corn and soybeans. Very little diversity. So a lot of their workload occurs in the April and May timeframe, and then it's busy again when it comes to harvest in October. But the rest of the months, a lot of the major operators are basically underemployed once the spraying is done. There's nothing else to do but to wait for harvest. Most of those operations no longer have livestock on the farm. They don't have small grains. They don't have hay or meadow acres. And so, whereas in our operation, once we start calving in the spring, all the way through planting, harvesting small grain, haying, cultivating, harvest of row crops, applying our manure compost in the late fall, we're pretty much employed from late March right on through November, December.
That's something that I was really excited to talk to you about today. When we're looking at, the increased, if you would agree that it's an increased labor demand on organic farms, you need more folks doing more things on organic farms than conventional farms. When you look at that labor requirement, it then seems difficult possibly to keep folks, to have enough folks around to get the work done if you're just doing those major row crops, say corn and soy. So you have these really big, intense periods of needing a bunch of bodies doing all the work, and then it quiets down pretty quick. To have a successful row crop farm, would you describe it as you need to be able to have enough work to keep folks around all year long and make this more of a year-round job, if possible, to have enough bodies ready to go when the big work periods occur?
Well, again, it comes down to diversity. And, I'm not saying that we have to be working just for working's sake, but what you have seen with the technology in seed and other apparatus in modern conventional agriculture, it's basically farmer replacing. And, we got to get away from that. And I have nothing against air-conditioned tractors and auto steer and things like that, but we have to remember that the organic farming in all real terms promotes that human input into the farm. And by human input, I mean the labor, the management, and the skill level that goes with it. there's no simplicity in just depending on technology or herbicides or a telephone call to an operator to spray your fields to take care of an issue. Organic farming requires a whole encompassing of some values and approaches and techniques that if you're wanting to be challenged from a management standpoint, there's no better endeavor, I think, than to get into organic farming.
Oh, I hear you. When we're looking at the different crops that you're describing for increasing that diversity, what role does alfalfa play? Obviously, it's going to be a nitrogen fixer, but does it do other things for your rotation that makes it an essential player?
Oh, definitely. For one thing, it's the food source for our cow-calf herd. Mm-hmm. The byproduct of that, of course, is the cattle manure that's eventually semi-composted into fertilizer. But it's a major weed control technique on our farm. And we only keep alfalfa in for 2 seasons. But it does clean up a field especially from a perennial or thistle standpoint. And so that's why we normally will rotate from alfalfa into soybeans rather than alfalfa into corn, because we want to take advantage of that weed-free environment going into soybeans rather than the corn. And that's important. I probably should take your listeners back up to what our rotation is. In all actuality, it's a 6-year rotation. So we divide all of our tillable acres into 6 mostly equal proportions. And the top of the rotation is oats as a small grain / nurse crop for the seeding of alfalfa. And then alfalfa in years 2 and 3. And then year 4, we rotate to soybeans. After soybeans, that first time, we also use winter rye as a cover crop in the fall. Allow that to be a green manure the following spring before we plant corn in year 5. In year 5, we rotate back into soybeans one more time. And then year 7, we're back at the top of the rotation with oats as a small grain and as a nurse crop for the 2 years of alfalfa. And so in our farm, rather than being 100% row crop, we're 50% row crop with corn and beans in those 3 years. And the other half of the rotation, we were in cover crop continuously or smother crop continuously for 3 years with the oats and the 2 years of alfalfa. So we're always tipping back and forth between those 2 major components of the rotation.
And that sounds like you're able to grow most of the nitrogen that you would need for your small grains as well as your corn. Do you apply manure every time before you plant corn?
Well, I wish we had more manure / compost, but we do spread in the late fall. We normally do it on double ground where we've got a new stand of alfalfa or an existing stand of alfalfa. And that way too, if you've got a weed count in your manure, those weeds will come up with the alfalfa in the following year, and you can just put that as part of your hay crop. So yeah, we don't, we will plant probably 250 to 300 acres of new alfalfa every year. So we certainly can't get around to all that in a rotation time. We also utilize composted poultry manure. It's in pelletized form, and it has a 5-4-4 analysis. And so we will apply that to our corn, bean, and small grain acres also.
And at what point in the rotation do you put the poultry pellets down typically?
Well, before we plant corn and soybeans, in most cases, even before we plant oats.
Okay. It seems like there's quite a few folks who would agree that alfalfa is one of those essential tools in the toolbox for controlling your perennial weeds, as you just mentioned. What do you think holds folks back? Why don't we see more alfalfa kind of across the Midwest? And what are those challenges that keep folks from taking it on?
Well, I think a lot of it is, can you use the best scenario where you utilize most or all of it on the farm? In that, in a lot of cases, invites or encourages farmers to get into considering cattle or dairy production.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a catching point. If your desire is to strictly be a grain farmer, that can be a limiting aspect. We sell some hay off the farm, but we don't normally want to promote or push that because that's just a lot of nutrients leaving the farm that best utilized to stay on the farm. So we are working with the CSP, Conservation Stewardship Program, and we're doing a model project where we're taking 10% of our alfalfa cuttings and we are just mulching that alfalfa or hay crop right back onto the ground as a green manure rather than mowing it and baling it and removing that hay off the field. And so the theory is that even though it's an economic loss perhaps in the year that you have that hay, that same tonnage or green manure can actually feed what I call the cows in the soil or the life in the soil instead. And it'll provide fertility for your soil in the following years of the rotation so that it can pay for itself as what I call as a sacrifice or a tithing crop for the rotation.
Absolutely. So when you're looking at the alfalfa's role, would you say it seems like there's that market question of folks who are not necessarily in the cattle business feeling like they don't want to get into something because they don't know the market, that they're not sure if there's enough cows around to eat the alfalfa, or they're just not sure where they would go with it. I think, kind of as a larger question, do you think it's that we need more cows kind of spread out throughout the Corn Belt, or do we need things like alfalfa pellet mills where we'd make it so that you could sell them and realize more revenue?
Well, again, selling the alfalfa off the farm is taking fertility off your farm. So that's, it's a consideration that you're going to have to take into account if you're going to get into heavy marketing of alfalfa.
Sure.
Again, the ideal situation is to consume and use that alfalfa tonnage right there on the farm.
And did you always have cows, or was that something you introduced to help your crop rotation?
We've always had cattle. As I mentioned, out of our 2,500 acres, about 1,600 of it is tillable. So, we've got a fair amount of ground that's not conducive to crop farming. And so, we do have maybe close to 500 or 600 acres of what we call permanent pasture. So whether we were organic or not, it's just a good component to our farm to have this cow-calf herd.
Absolutely. Someone asked in the questions for a repeat of your crop rotation. So if I could repeat it back to you, then I'll make sure I've got it. So we're going to have the small grains, nurse crop, the alfalfa. So that's 3 years, small grains, 2 years alfalfa. And then you're going to go into soybeans, correct?
Right.
And then we would have our corn year, and then we would be back to small grains and nurse crop alfalfa.
Well, we'd have soybeans one more time after the corn.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad we asked. All right.
Right. The other thing that I have experimented here the last year or two is on those corn stalk acres. Once you get into late fall, it's not really conducive to try to place in rye or other things. So we're taking some of our extra oats seed and we're just spreading that in the late April time frame, and we're letting that green up as a green manure for 30 days before we plant soybeans later on.
Definitely.
So again, so it's allowing some green growth there from that corn stalk stubble going into soybeans.
So when you're thinking about your rotation, what sort of markets do your different crops go into? We know the alfalfa goes to your cows. Where do your other crops go?
Well, the oats, up until last year, most of it was going actually to different seed companies, and they were turning around and using it as either cover crop as an oats or cover crop oats as as part of a mixture. So we had a lot of oats going that way. We've also had some oats going for milling, which is food use.
Mhm.
And then we also, with our cattle and we utilize a little bit of our oats for cattle feed. And then, as I mentioned, the spring application of oats to be incorporated 30 days later.
Mhm.
So the corn, most of it has been going to feed markets for organic poultry, organic dairy, and livestock.
Mhm.
So most of that is going to that markets. And the soybeans have either been going into the livestock feed market, or some of it's been going into the food market. All of our grains are marketed through an agency called NFO Organics. We use a collective marketing approach. So we commit our bushels and acres to NFO to bargain and market on our behalf, along with that agency or organization also bargaining and marketing for other fellow farmers. And so we don't market just as one farm, we market as a collective unit of dozens of other organic farms throughout the country.
I'm really glad you brought that up. I think I saw the NFO sign in your video, and
Yes.
wanted to ask you about that. So NFO, to my understanding, is a cooperative, right?
Well, they're not a cooperative in a sense that they don't own or process any of the farmers' production.
Mhm.
They are a marketing agent for the farmer, utilizing collective marketing, or in better terms, collective bargaining as a
Sure.
marketing tool.
That it seems like, as folks are thinking about how do they get markets, say they're transitioning to organics and they're unsure of the marketplace, it seems like becoming an NFO member or another marketing co-op member is just a really slick way to get a good understanding of the landscape, but also increase your selling power because you're able to team up with other folks and meet bigger orders.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing I like about it is it allows me as a farmer and a producer to do things that I'm best at, and that's to be a good farmer. And I
Mhm.
can leave the marketing to a full-time expert. This person, he or she, can be 5 days a week, 40 hours or more a week, researching and scouting the markets. And the other thing I like about it too is it gives me a financial protection when that product leaves the farm,
Mhm.
that I know that I'm going to get paid because I have an organization behind me that's going to make sure that end user pays. And so I've been very fortunate in my 40 years of organic farming and utilizing NFO Organics that I've never had a semi I never get paid for.
Wow, that's important.
If you talk to a lot of organic farmers, there's a few horror stories here and there. And one of them with this particular company that just went down last year. And so, I think it's just really important because I can have anywhere from 5 to 10 semis leave the yard in a week's time. And, if I didn't have NFO Organics behind me, that'd be kind of a nerve-wracking sleep,
Right.
waiting for a check to come, because if it never did come, it would break the farm in a literal sense. So
Sure.
I just like that security that goes, and I'm working with fellow farmers, and we're not only promoting a better financial situation for my farm, but we're promoting a financial situation which is better for all farms. And you know, it's a lot of give and take too. NFO Organics is not just a marketing organization on its own. It's also involved with a far greater umbrella called O-Farm, and there's about 3-4 other marketing agencies or organizations that come together as a larger unit, working on behalf of farmers. So, and those marketing agents from those different cooperatives or NFO Organics hold a weekly telephone conference, and they're communicating back and forth amongst themselves as to what the market is and what it should be.
Well, it's one of the really neat things about American law when it comes to agriculture, because we do have the ability to cooperate as farmers, right? And to
Yeah.
and realize some bargaining power, some selling power. I think in the questions, someone asked the name of the collective marketing entity, and it's National Farmers Organics, NFO.
Right. The parent organization is the parent organization is National Farmers Organization, or NFO, as many people may know it. But their organic division is called NFO Organics. So
yes, thank you. Why would you say, it seems like as folks are getting into organics, I can't see any reason one wouldn't try to join a co-op. It seems like, as you described it, co-ops have a real, you basically get a hand off that marketing, and figure out what is best for your rotation rather than what can you market. So is there any reason that you would say folks who are getting into organics or are already growers shouldn't be immediately finding a co-op to help market their grain and find a good price for them?
Well, I really think they should. Again, this is a free country, and I guess, and I don't mean to be humorous here. I apologize if I seem in that way. I just think, again, it comes down to an individual choice to do that.
Sure.
But I strongly encourage organic farmers to be part of a bargaining unit. Just farming organically itself can be a lonely endeavor. And then when you add marketing on top of that, that journey or venture can be really lonely. And so I think just being part of a larger group is important, and it's going to give stability to your operation. And it's going to, again, as I said before, allow you to focus on doing what you do best, and that's to farm. You're not going to have to be trying to spend hours and times researching and seeking out. The other thing I like about with my collective bargaining approach is my agent doesn't do anything unless he or she confirms that decision with me. So it's not like I turn over total power to somebody else. Everything's done on a collaborative basis.
Sure, that's really important. When you look at the next generation of farmers, and especially folks getting into organics, could you tell a little bit about how your operation has worked through the generations and either spun off new farms, or what you're looking to have as the continuation of your operation?
Okay. Well, I hope this story doesn't get too long. The continuation is when my younger brother and I started off after my dad was disabled, and we've grown the farm through the years. We came to a tipping point about 12, 13 years ago where we were offered the opportunity to take on and rent an existing organic farm that had about 500 acres. And at that point, my son and my younger brother were not involved with us, but we had a cousin who was working, frankly, in the conventional world, and so we invited him back to be an employee on the farm for a year or two, and just to see if he liked the farming aspect, and he totally enjoyed it. He's in fact, part of our operation at that time was his father's farm, which had 560 acres. So after that first year of being an employee, we incorporated him as being a farmer partner. And so my brother and I retained 40% each of the operation, and my younger cousin had 20%. Mm-hmm. We were in a partnership mode for about 4 or 5 years. And so that we just divided all the expenses, 40, 40, 20. All the income that came in was spread out 40, 40, 20. And it proved to be a real stepping stone for my younger cousin. Then I'd say it's been about 6, 7 years ago now, I approached my cousin and said, you know, you've got a young family, you're married, you may be wanting to take your schedule and your priorities in a different direction. And so I said, you know, your dad's farm is about 20% of our total operation today. And so I says, would you rather be 100%, 20% of the 100% operation that we have today, or would you rather be 100% of the 20%, which is your dad's farm? And then, so we basically kind of spun him off, but we still provided the major equipment for his own 20%, and we worked together. But he's able to identify as his own little smaller farm onto his dad's acres. And so, again, you know, he's got 3 children today, and he is part of a return, what I call, to farming. And if it be conventional farming, he certainly would not have enough acres to justify being on the farm. So this is just another example of another family who's living on the land, living on a farm, spending money locally, and being part of the local community. Since we spun off my younger cousin, we've retained a few more acres, and now we're involving my younger brother, who's actually somewhat 20 years younger than I am, and my son. And so we're into a 4-way partnership today now. And so that partnership is broke down by 40, 40, 10%, and 10%. And my younger brother could still maintain his job as a technician and mechanic with the local case dealership. And but the whole idea there is that we're probably slowly going to work through a transition as my brother and I get more closer to older age, as I say it, and so there'll be a transition to this new generation.
Do you think, it seems like I've heard this before when talking to folks, it's much easier to farm, and I think this could be said on both conventional and organic, if you're somewhat part of a community, if you're not just trying to do all of the equipment and maintain everything on your own, sort of as you described, you know, your partnership with your brother, but also the benefit of being able to lend equipment and share equipment with your younger cousin. Right. Anything to say about that, of how when folks are thinking about starting farms, looking to their neighbors as well to maybe make this journey together?
Well, I think so. I really think that, especially in today's farming, you want the best equipment that you can afford and utilize. And so, you know, if you would have a network, especially within a neighborhood where you could share a lot of this equipment across several farms, I think you have the best of both worlds. You have hopefully a good modern set of equipment, but you also have your independence or identity as a separate farms also.
Absolutely. One quick technical question. We're coming up to the top of the hour, so I want to make sure we get this in. Someone had asked, have you taken any samples to see what the nutrient value of the green manure of your mulched alfalfa versus when you hay it off, or any results from that experiment?
Well, no, I guess this is the quick and easy answer. We've only done it the first time last summer. And so we've got some soil tests coming off those fields, but as far as the analysis of of the green manure itself, no, I'd have to say we have not. But that's a good idea and probably an approach we should take.
Well, that'll be an
We do
exciting
have
update.
we do have hay analysis of our alfalfa
Sure.
in a bale form, so we do have that. So.
Well, fantastic. With the little time we have left, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what your banker thinks of your crop rotation and your working with NFO, and if there's been anything about the financing of your organic operation that you found to be an important learning lesson for folks looking to get into organics.
Well, I'd say our relationship with our lender has been excellent, been supportive, and I think they like seeing some of these organic prices that we can bring across the board. I think they appreciate the diversity that comes with the different modes of income that comes into the operation. We've got cattle income, small grain income, some hay sales, the grain sales, especially on the soybeans and corn. And it's income that tends to show up and arrive during different times and months of the year, which any lender appreciates. And so, in our particular lender has also financed land purchases through the years too. Of our 2,500 acres, about 60% of it is owned by us, my brother and I, and 40% is rented. So, the other thing that I haven't mentioned up to today is that we have a great relationship with our landlords. As I mentioned, we've got a 500-acre farm where that landlord already had it into organic, and so that's been an ongoing great relationship. We have 3 or 4 other landlords that chose us mainly because we were organic, and so they're supportive and appreciate what we're doing. And the other thing, as long as we're kind of getting up to the end of the hour, I just want to again once promote that, and I said this in the video, take all the arguments away about whether organic farming is a safer situation or better food or better production. Just take those arguments and put them on the table, and just look at the aspect of organic farming bringing more people into the fold to be managers and part of the labor force and the technology that goes on to an organic farm. And you're going to have probably 2 or 3 organic farmers on the farm versus only 1 on a commercial farm. And so, if we're talking about trying to maintain our schools and churches and our small communities or rebuild them, organic farming, or at least an aspect that goes down that particular path, is not only going to be raising a better environment and better food for our community, but it's actually going to be building community and building back our schools and churches and towns.
I can't thank you enough for that. That is something that I think is it's not something we get to talk about enough. And looking at the actual goal of why do we all farm and what is our ultimate goal, building these communities in which we farm. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, it's just so important. And just remember that anybody can be a family farm. Even the richest man on the earth can be a family farm, but the real aspect is what I call family farming. And family farming is where you involve the farm and the family providing most or all the capital, most or all the labor, and most or all the management. And it's not just 1 or 2 out of those 3, it's all 3. And so when you have an economic machine called family farming purring and motivating and moving ahead, you've got all those strong economic components working together in unison. And there's no better way than just to have that farm out there being run, managed, and provided with the labor and the capital by the farm family itself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Charlie. Thank you so much for your time and your insights and all of your good work. We really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for attending today. We're really excited for the upcoming organic field crop course by Oats, which will be launching soon. And we're also very interested in working with folks out there to build and customize trainings. If you have agronomists or you know of groups who would be interested in learning about how to advise organic farmers, we're really interested in building custom trainings that work for your region and the goals of your organization. Oats has some exciting things that are going to be launching over the next couple of months, so please watch your emails for announcements. And lastly, save the date for our next Organic Advisor call. It's going to be March 23rd at 8 a.m. Central Time with James Schrepfer of Belgrade, Minnesota. And we'll be talking about fertility management, manure, and nitrogen crediting in organic production. All right. Well, thank you again, Charlie, and thank you everyone here.
Thank you. I totally enjoyed it. And everyone is always welcome to come and visit our farm also. And
well, we will take you up on that. That's it.
We do host an annual tour in late July of every year too. So